This is Rhythms of Renewal, a special podcast series where we trade survival mode for spirit led living, one rhythm at a time, helping you return to the pace, peace, and purpose God designed you for so you can shine. Have you ever taken a nap? Maybe got away for a girls' weekend, got a solid 8 hours of sleep, and still feel exhausted? Like you rested, but something inside was still worn out, worn thin. You started wondering, maybe there's something wrong with me. Why doesn't this rest help me feel better, like myself again? Why do I still feel so emotionally and spiritually drained? Back in the day when I was a busy mom doing all the things, raising four kids, I would have the opportunity maybe once or twice a year to get away by myself. And typically, the first 24 hours, all I would do was sleep. I would get so frustrated. I had my list of things to do, to think about, to pray about, to study while I was away. But every time I sat down to read, every time I settled in to contemplate, every time I fell asleep until God broke in and he said, Misty, you're just tired. The reality is, fatigue is real. There may be something physically going on if you can't seem to get over the fatigue, even with good sleep and good rest. Here's some shocking facts about physical exhaustion. If you're a new mom, did you know that you lose on an average of 700 hours of sleep in the first year alone? That's equivalent to about 2 hours of sleep per night. And even if you're getting enough sleep, the quality is often poor due to interruptions, leading to what is called sleep fragmentation, which studies show it's just as detrimental to mood and cognitive function as total sleep deprivation. But it's not just physical sleep, is it? The cognitive load that moms carry. Over 80% of you report bearing the brunt end of that mental load, the scheduling, the planning, worrying if there's going to be enough time to make it from point A to point B, which directly correlates to higher fatigue and anxiety. Last week on part one of this Rhythms of Renewal series, we talked about one reason why sleep may not be as restorative to your need for rest as you had hoped. We discussed the 7 different types of rest that your body actually craves. If you missed that episode, you might want to press pause on this and revisit episode number 89, Why Moms Are So Tired, and what Jesus says about rest. When we discuss developing rhythms of renewal, rhythms of life that sustain you through transitions, through trauma, through trials, and even temper tantrums, rest is foundational. But if you're ready to move into God's purpose of rest, lean into today's episode because we are going to meet with the one who leads us beside still waters. That's the rest and restores our soul. Because rest stops the depletion, but restoration rebuilds what that depletion has damaged. Rest creates room. Restoration is what God does in that space, what He brings back to life. Restoration is about allowing God to gently repair what's been worn down, strained, or distorted over time. to bring those parts of you back to his intended image, usually better than ever. Biblical restoration is about returning to what is true about God, about you, and about what you are created to carry. Before we dive in, if you're sensing even a tiny stirring in your heart right now, I want you to hit the follow or subscribe button, whatever podcast platform you're listening on, because these episodes in the Rhythms of Renewal series, they build on one another. And I don't want you missing out on the rhythms that God may want to use to reshape your life. Welcome to the Rhythms of Renewal podcast series. I'm Misty, a women's renewal, life, and leadership coach, mentor to women, and a fellow mom who knows what it's like to love God deeply and still feel worn thin. This podcast exists because I keep meeting women who love Jesus, love their families, love their husband, truly love their life, but are living exhausted, overwhelmed, and disconnected from their own hearts. Beloved, I was that woman, and I kept looking for someone older and wiser to help me find a better way. But alas, I looked and couldn't find that woman that lived in vibrancy, who truly let her light shine. So I put my heart before God and I said, Lord, let me be a change agent. I've had the privilege of mentoring and coaching literally hundreds of younger women and older ones as well. It's amazing what God does with our weak, broken, "Here I am, Lord," or "Yes, I will go for you." I still hear so many women ask that question, where are the mentors? So friend, I'm bringing them to you. Every week, we explore relevant things to your own mom journey. And if you have something that you're dying to know, a deep question that you're longing to ask, I'd like to invite you to hop over to my Facebook group, Mom to Mom Mentoring, and ask the question. I'd love to hear what's burning on your heart so we can get a mom mentor on this podcast to answer that question and talk about it for you. Just go to Mom, the number 2, Mom Mentoring on Facebook. It's a growing group of moms who, like you, are showing up. Maybe not always strong, maybe not always having the answer, but they are choosing every day to show up for themselves and for God. For the next 4 weeks, I'm hosting a podcast series on Rhythms of Renewal, which is a space to slow down, listen, and learn to live from the place that God actually designed you to live from. Hey, this isn't about fixing yourself. It's about being formed into the woman that God created you to be. It's about transformation from the inside out. And oh, lovely one, I love a good transformation. Wings to fly, splashes of color. Just look at that stunning butterfly and know that's you being formed. Most of you were never taught how to live with rhythms. You were taught how to push, persevere, press through, press on. But renewal doesn't come from doing more. It comes from aligning yourself with what gives you life. The 4 rhythms that we are going to be covering are rest, renewal, relationship, and, hang on till the end, reimagining. When we talked about rest, we talked about how rest is powerful. Rest actually slows your body, resets your nervous system, creates sacred margin, interrupts burnout cycles. Rest is a holy invitation from your Father, but rest alone doesn't always heal the deeper places inside of us. Rest might quiet the noise, but restoration heals what the noise has been covering up. Years ago, when I was really pursuing what it meant to be in a relationship with Jesus beyond going to church, teaching children's church, helping with the children's choir, all the things that made me look like a good Christian mom, I was awakened to the fact that my soul was shattered. And it seemed like every time I tried to get close to someone, I would cut them with the shards of my shattered soul. This realization caused me to seek healing. I didn't want those that I love the most to suffer because of my brokenness, not when I knew the healer and was becoming more intimate with him and trusting his ways. Each new life phase transition brings opportunities for God to transform me, put me back together. Even recently, I was made aware by the kindness of God of another place of my soul that was shattered in a small group setting years ago in the early 90s. I was just minding my own business when the Lord brought this memory back up. The pain of the accusation was as real now as it was then. I sat on the bed and I just wept. I let Jesus come in and hold me. Later that day, I was able to confess my fear of vulnerability to a small group of people that God had surrounded me with, people that I've been cultivating a relationship for over a year. I'm waiting on the fullness of God's restoration for this area of my soul and his redemption for what the enemy has stolen because of the fear that I've operated in unknowingly, but I've still operated in it. So you see, restoration is when God begins repairing, renewing, and realigning areas of your life that depletion, that fear, that sin have damaged over time. And here's what I've learned walking with women, and honestly, walking with Jesus myself. Restoration is layered. Emotional restoration, healing those internal wounds and exhaustion. Spiritual restoration, rekindling intimacy with God. Identity restoration, remembering who God says you are. And relational restoration, learning how to connect safely and authentically. And if you go back to my story, every one of those areas of restoration, God was bringing the pieces of my shattered soul back together. Joel 2 says, I will restore the years the locusts have eaten. Those nasty locusts have been nibbling away at the fruit of deep relationships in my life. And God will not only restore me, but he's restoring my ability to walk in true, authentic relationships. See, God doesn't just sustain you, he restores you. Restoration requires awareness, and that typically comes from rest when the noises are quiet. You can't let God restore what you refuse to acknowledge and what you don't see. And let's be honest, so many moms are so strong, so capable that we move right past our own pain. Restoration, it's often so much slower than you want, but deeper than you expect. And restoration, it happens fully and freely in the presence of God, not in your performance, not in your to-do list, not in pressing through. You don't earn restoration, Mama. You receive it. Let me ask you a few questions. Just notice what rises up inside of you as I ask these questions. Where in your life do you feel chronically drained? What part of your heart feels neglected, unseen, disregarded? When was the last time you felt spiritually alive? Not just faithful, but alive. You don't have to answer out loud. Here's some signs that I have seen over and over in incredible women who love God deeply. You may notice some of these signs yourself. You may need restoration if you're functioning well, but you feel emotionally numb. You're productive, but joy feels distant. You love Jesus, but your spiritual life feels dry. You rest physically, but you still feel heavy internally. You've lost connection with your dreams or your calling, with your purpose in this season. Beloved, burnout doesn't just exhaust your calendar, it fragments your soul. And Jesus is deeply committed to putting fragmented pieces back together. Oh, isn't that good news? So, I've created a free mini Rhythms of Renewal workbook. It helps you gently identify where God might be inviting rest or restoration into your life right now, without pressure, no shame, just a little awareness. There's a few simple questions in this mini workbook to help you partner with the one who restores your soul. You can grab this in the show notes. Let me give you a little glimpse of how Jesus often restores us. He restores through honest naming. I want to take you to Psalm 32 for a minute. David is crying out vulnerably before God. Restoration begins when pretending ends. He says, "When I kept silent, my bones wasted away through my groaning all day long. For day and night your hand was heavy on me. My strength was sapped as in the heat of summer. Then I acknowledged my sin to you and did not cover up my iniquity. I said, I will confess my transgressions to the Lord, and you forgave the guilt of my sin." God restores through identity. 2 Corinthians tells us if anyone is in Christ, he's a new creation. Sometimes restoration is simply remembering who you already are. God restores through grace. Many women I coach are exceptional givers, but terrible receivers. Restoration often begins when we learn to receive love without feeling like we have to earn it. And Jesus restores through rhythms, small, repeated invitations that slowly rebuild your heart over time. Now, if you'd like a place to just begin to walk this out with other kingdom-minded moms, remember to join the free Facebook group, Mom to Mom Mentoring. We talk about these rhythms in real life, messy life, honest life, grace-filled life. You'll find the link for that in the show notes. Now, before we close today, I want to create a sacred space for you. If you're driving, just listen safely. If you can, close your eyes. Go ahead. Take one slow breath with me. As you do, ask Jesus this question. Lord, where do you want to restore me right now? Sit with him just for a moment. Make a note of what bubbled up in your thoughts. Was there a word, an image, even an emotion? that came to the surface? Beloved, this may be the beginning of restoration for you. Inside the workbook, there is a journaling prompt that helps you unpack what surfaced for you today. And if today stirred something and you want to go deeper, if you're realizing you don't just want information, you want transformation, I'm opening up a 12-week group coaching cohort where we will walk through this journey together. Right now, there's a wait list open, and women that are on that wait list will receive a discount and a bonus coaching session when they register. If your heart is whispering, I want more, I want you to listen to that whisper. You'll find the link for the wait list in the show notes. Next week, we're going to step into a rhythm that so many women crave, but also fear a little. Maybe you fear it, but like me, you aren't even aware that there is fear. Relationship with God, relationship with others, learning how to choose connection that creates safety and belonging. And friend, restoration often prepares our hearts for deeper, healthier connection. The wave of exhaustion, it comes. Their waves are relentless at times, but what if that wave is actually an invitation from God, the God who deeply desires to restore your soul and help you build rhythms of renewal? If there's one thing I want you to take away from today, it's this: Jesus doesn't call you to just keep going. He calls you back to life, and life more abundant. Psalm 23 reminds us he restores our souls. He leads you beside still waters. He walks you through valleys. He prepares tables of abundance right in the middle of messy, real life. And mama, remember this: when you allow God to restore you, when you receive his renewal, when you step out of survival mode and into spirit-led living, you give other women and your children permission to do the same. You shine differently. And when you shine, you give others permission to shine too. If this episode encouraged you, would you share it with one friend who might need restoration in her life right now? And be sure to hit follow wherever you are listening to this podcast. It will ensure that you don't miss next week's episode in this special series, Rhythms of Renewal. And leaving a review certainly helps more kingdom-minded moms find this space and this message. Until next time, beloved, may you notice where your soul feels tired. May you courageously bring that place to Jesus. May you experience the beautiful, patient restoration that only He can give. I'm Misty Hughes, and you've been listening to Mom Mentoring. Now, go shine.